We begin with breaking news tonight. This is a live look from Kauai in Hawaii. A tsunami advisory remains in effect for the entire U.S. West Coast. In Northern California, near the Oregon border, Crescent City has been elevated to a tsunami warning. We'll have more on that in a second. Meanwhile, Hawaii is expecting those tsunami waves to hit any second after that magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck off the coast of western Russia. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for ARC PDX tonight at 10 o'clock. I'm Barry Mangold. We do have team coverage for you tonight to talk about this new earthquake and resulting tsunami that is heading towards the western U.S. We have Dave Selesky standing by with this forecast, but first we're going to go to K2's Christina Giardinelli live from Lincoln City with the very latest. Christina, what are you seeing there?
You know, hard to see much right now. It's pretty dark outside. Things are pretty calm, though, from what I can see. We did see, a good set of waves coming in at sunset when the tide came in. That's to be expected. If those tsunami waves do hit here in Oregon, that's not expected to happen for another hour and a half. And as you mentioned, Hawaii expected to hit a lot sooner. So we'll be monitoring that and might give us a better idea of what we could see here in Oregon.
Okay, so speaking of what we could see here in Oregon, Christina, what are Oregon state officials telling you about what we could see here?
You know, they're saying that this is not going to be a very large tsunami wave if it does hit, nothing like what we saw in 2011, for example, but they are warning people to stay off the piers, stay off the beach, attempting to obviously come look and see what you can see, but they're saying don't do that. And I will say earlier, there are quite a few people here on the beach. That most of them have cleared out now, but there are still some people on the beach. We'll pan the camera over here to my left. You can see there's a bonfire going on over there. Actually, might be a couple bonfires that we can see here, and still a few people on the beach, which officials are saying, you really don't want to do that. So hopefully people clear out, and we'll be monitoring closely both the situation in Hawaii as well as here in Oregon. Hopefully we can get a better picture of what you might expect, and we'll have that for you coming up at 11 p.m. For now, live in Lincoln City, Christina Giardinelli, K2 News.
All right, Christina, thank you for that. And as she mentioned, Oregon officials are saying this will not be a major tsunami for the state. Less than 2 hours ago, I spoke with Athlia Rizzo, the Geological Hazards Program Coordinator at the Oregon Department of Emergency Management. She told us what to expect and how this tsunami may compare to the deadly one that Oregon saw back in 2011. Listen here.
We're not expecting to see waves coming on shore. This is not Japan 2011. But what you will see is strong currents in bays, harbors, ports, marinas, along beaches, along estuaries, and rivers. So our advice is really just to stay away from the water. Don't go down to the beach to watch this.
I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but is this setting up to be a similar situation in any way to 2011?
No, the type of earthquake is different than the 2011 Japanese event. This earthquake is a thrust earthquake, which means the plates are moving past each other. Japan in 2011 and the Cascadia subduction zone, which is right off of our coast, is where we have one plate diving underneath another. And that's what causes the really big tsunamis. So we're not expecting to have the impact that we did in 2011.
That's the latest from the Oregon Department of Emergency Management. Let's bring in Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Dave Selesky. You've been tracking this since that earthquake struck in our early evening shows. And so, Dave, we got a tsunami advisory along the West Coast, but you told us just about an hour ago maybe that a section of Northern California is now under a tsunami warning. Tell us about that.
Yes, so basically we're talking from the Oregon border down into Cape Mendocino, California. They're going to be under a tsunami warning, expecting a wave down there. For the Oregon coast, we had that advisory up. May see a minor wave, less than a foot in most locations. There's the current camera you can see up in the Washington coastline. Shallow in camera up at up at Ocean Shores. Clear skies there. As you can see, the beach pretty much cleared out there at this hour. Now there's that 8.8 magnitude earthquake, and again we still have tsunami warnings here on the Aleutian Islands. Nothing going on in mainland Alaska. We'll drop down here to the west coast. And again, there's our advisory up for all of the Washington, Oregon coastline. Down here, just south of the Oregon border, down to Cape Mendocino, is where we have have the tsunami warning posted at this time. And the waves here, again, we're talking on Long Beach Peninsula, about 11:45. Seaside, minor wave, perhaps about 11:55. Same thing for Newport and Westport, Washington. And again, all the indications are right now that the waves on the west coast, for the Pacific Northwest anyway, will be a foot or less in most locations. Will be higher, though, down in areas like Crescent City, California, where they're expecting maybe a wave of upwards of 5 feet or more. This 8.8 earthquake is a major earthquake. Again, you don't normally see something this strong. This is the largest earthquake so far recorded in 2025. The area where the quake occurred is very active geologically. And again, on these tsunami waves, so again, you have a series of waves that be building. It draws out water out of bays and areas initially, and then you have that coastline pushing that wave up into the area, causing the higher waves to occur. Again, more energy forced upward because of these shallow beach areas. And again, multiple waves crash on shore and can spread well inland past the initial wave point. Now, as far as earthquake stats go, this 8.8 quake today, back in 1964, Alaska had a 9.2. Fukushima in 2011, 9.1, and the all-time strongest quake ever recorded, Chile in 1960 at 9.5 magnitude. And understand, at 8.8, we see about one of those per year on the planet. In the meantime, outside right now, pretty quiet by comparison, Barry. I have all the forecasts for you in about 10 minutes. Back over to you.
We are continuing to learn more about this 8.8 magnitude earthquake that struck off the coast of Russia. Multiple aftershocks as strong as 6.9 magnitude followed. Joining us now is William Yek, a research seismologist with the USGS Geological Hazards Science Center in Golden, Colorado. William, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, first question. This is the largest earthquake of the year so far. It's a whopping 8.8. Can you tell us what the USGS is monitoring with this earthquake right now?
Right. So, I mean, as you mentioned, this is a really large earthquake, both for this year, but also historically as well. You know, in terms of instrumentally recorded earthquakes, this is one of the top ones that's been recorded. Really what we're paying attention to is the extent and where exactly the earthquake occurred, and now we're trying to monitor aftershocks. One thing that's really important about this earthquake is it was really large, but it also occurred offshore in the subduction zone, and it's fairly shallow. And with the type of faulting that occurs there, it can cause uplift, which can then cause a tsunami. So we expect that there will be impact both from the shaking of the earthquake and then also the fact that it caused a tsunami.
Right, and I know that here in Oregon, folks, when it comes to tsunamis, certainly will recall the 2011 tsunami that struck after another earthquake near Japan. That caused a tsunami that was damaging and deadly here in Oregon. Is there any way that you could compare this earthquake and this tsunami that we're talking about now to the one in 2011? Is there any differences, or what else can you tell us?
Right. I mean, this earthquake is slightly smaller, but in terms of the tsunami it generated, we really have to see as it propagates and try to get a better understanding of what that looks like. And I'd point people to go to tsunami.gov. The tsunami warning centers do forecasting and the warnings and advisories for the tsunami. So you can get the most up-to-date information on what's expected for the tsunami at tsunami.gov.
Okay, so last question. A major part of the West Coast is the Cascadia subduction zone. Could this earthquake and tsunami trigger any pressure that could increase the risk of the inevitable big one?
Right. I think that's pretty unlikely, or very unlikely. You know, there are cases of very remote triggering of earthquakes from other large earthquakes, but it's very uncommon, and you know, it's not something that I would be concerned about at this moment.
William Yek with the U.S. Geological Survey, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
And if you're wondering, the last time a damaging tsunami hit Oregon was in 2011 after an earthquake struck near Japan. Dave talked about it briefly. This video was from the U.S. Coast Guard flying over Crescent City in Northern California, surveying the damage as a result. According to the Oregon Department of Emergency Management, that tsunami in 2011 caused severe damage here in Oregon and contributed to the deaths of 4 people on the Oregon coast. And we are continuing to monitor this evolving situation following that 8.8 magnitude earthquake. We will continue to monitor any changes to our tsunami advisory. Be sure to tune in less than an hour to K2 News at 11 for the very latest and for another live look at the Oregon coast as we await those tsunami waves. And we have the latest for you on K2.com. More to come after a quick break. Fire crews across the state, keeping a close eye on weather conditions as thunderstorms expected to bring lightning and fresh fire.
But hurry, EV tax incentives won't last much longer.
Welcome back. Let's take another live look at the situation in Hawaii, which is now under a tsunami warning following that magnitude 8.8 earthquake off the Russian coast. We have been following the Associated Press out of Hawaii, where reports state that evacuation centers have been set up at local schools and other facilities. However, no reports of damage. We haven't seen any yet, so we are continuing to monitor the situation there. But that is a live look on your screen now from Kauai in Hawaii. Now, let's take a look at some of the damage that the earthquake and resulting tsunami have done already on the other side of the Pacific. This is drone footage from CNN showing the aftermath of the earthquake at a Russian peninsula just north of Japan. The waves that did this are now heading across the ocean to the west coast of the U.S., which is entirely under that tsunami advisory tonight.